Hello and welcome to Viper Squadron. I'm your host, Crispy, and today this is going to be my first video on Star Wars Unlimited. It's a great game that, I've gotten into, set to just released not too long ago. We're getting right into things, and it's a good sort of breakaway for me from X-Wing, because X-Wing, with all the crazy things that are happening, I want something else to sort of dip my toes into, and this game has been great. So this is going to be some commentary over some games that I played at the local night, and I just want to sort of, give a playthrough of what I was thinking, what some of my lines are, what some of my lines were, what I was going through then. And I don't want to go too much into the deck tech, so it is a best of one at this one store that I play at. So This is the deck that I've been messing around with. I've been having a lot of fun with it. Sideboard has been all crazy things, but for the best of one, I just decided I'm just going to go with the main board. That's what I like. And so, yeah, let's get right into it. So first off, we have round one, and this is against a Sabine ECL. So yeah, very, very common deck that a lot of people play. Sabine, very good in the first set, gets even better in the second set with the addition of the Darksaber, Poes, Wreckers, some big units that you're able to use to close out the game. So yeah, for this matchup, I'm generally pretty happy about it. Qi'ra being able to flip out on that 5 resource turn and essentially be a sort of a small super laser blast and just being able to wipe the board. TTown helps a lot with that. Being able to damage all of my opponent's enemy units, and then with TTown should be able to finish something off. So Qi'ra does half damage rounded down. So if you have 5 or 6 health, you're going to take. Well, if you take 5 health, if you have 5 health, you'll take 2 damage. If you have 6 health, you'll take 3 damage. But in either case, TTown is going to be able to finish them off. So unless he gets a 7 health unit out on the board, TTown is going to be able to be that finishing blow, and I don't think he's got anything with 7 health. It's just Poe and Wrecker at 6, so TTown on the Qi'ra flip should be able to take care of either one of them. So we start off here. I have a silencer for the space arena. I don't have a ton of space units, so I'm really glad that I got a silencer to start. One way that I do lose Sabine games is if they get a runaway A-wing up in space, and I'm I don't have any way to take care of it until the Qi'ra flip, and then I can go TTown up into space. So I'm really glad the silencer is there to hold down that space lane. And I also have another great unit for the Sabine matchup, and that is the client. So the client being able to, as an action, put a bounty on a unit, and that bounty is for the phase when they're defeated. I may heal 5 from my base, which is very important against the Sabine that is running a lot of units that are easy to kill, and are also swinging for my face a lot. So he puts down Sabine unit on the first turn. That's really good. And he's going to for a cause right out of the gate. I didn't get a chance to ask him sort of what his hand was at the time. But for causing out of the gate, doing just 4 damage straight to face. So I think he discards everything except for the Fleet Lieutenant. He discarded the K2, which I was very surprised about. I thought he was going to keep K2 and Fleet Lieutenant. So yeah, at this point, so this is a very weird turn now. So yeah, Sabine's just going to keep on pinging. So yeah, at this point in the game, I believe I have a Covert Strength, a Power of the Dark Side. Man, I got to hold my hands that way we can see it easier. There you go. So I've got a Power of the Dark Side, I've got a Hylabon, I've got a Covert Strength. I think I've got like a Scout Bike or something in there. So yeah, I know he has a Fleet Lieutenant, so I have a feeling that the Power of the Dark Side isn't going to be that great. That being said, I really want to use Power of the Dark Side against Sabine, the Sabine leader. Because if Sabine gets the Darksaber, I have some tech in my deck to be able to fight that. Like I've got the Disabling Fangs to remove the Darksaber. I've got the Pike Sentinel who can just sort of sit there and just take the blow for a turn. And Force Choke is great to just knock off Sabine the moment that she flips out. And power, of course, defeats her no matter what if she's the only unit on the board. And so at this point, I really want to save Power of the Dark Side for Sabine Leader because I don't know what he's going to play. So I'm really, really considering putting Covert Strength on the client and then just having the client swing at the Sabine unit right away. I feel like that's a safer option, but I just want to put the bounty, right? So I put the bounty on Sabine. At this point, I know he has a Fleet Lieutenant, so I'm expecting the Fleet Lieutenant to come down. But he just goes ahead and swings for 3. So I think this is where I just play Power of the Dark Side. Yeah. So yep, I just defeat Sabine, and I heal 5. So the client already getting to work, healing 5, doing a ton of work. So now I am terrified that Sabine and the Darksaber are going to come out because I don't have anything to deal with it immediately. There's going to be a Hylabon. Hylabon Enforcer, fantastic card with Qi'ra. About Sabine. I think that's a Daring Raid and a Covert Strength in my hand. Yeah, Silencer just doing work, chipping away. So yeah, he swings. That means it's not the Darksaber. Thank God. He's just gonna play K2. So he discarded the K2 before on For a Cause because he already had a K2 in his hand. So yeah, once again, I've got another client in my hand. Yeah, I hate resourcing raiders. For me, that's like the cardinal sin of the deck is like having to resource the raider. But in a lot of matchups, you have to, right? Like, you know, the raider is great stabilization against a lot of decks. Or, you know, on 5 resources, you're Qi'ra flipping, you're wiping the board, and then now that they don't have a board, you want to start pushing to base, and the raider is the great way, great way to start off with that. You know, do 2 damage to whatever unit they place out, and then you've got a good healthy unit in space, and then when defeated, you're also doing damage to base. So yeah, K2 has the bounty now. We're on 5 resources, so I'm expecting an ECL Poe. Or at least some kind of Poe, or he's been sitting on that ECL for a bit. But yeah, once again, I love that the fight has been controlled essentially to the ground arena. That's really I know that silencer is going to be holding down the fort. And I know Qi'ra Flip is going to be able to do some damage. So he just has K2 swing into the Hylabon. I just Tarkin Town immediately. And he has K2 do 3 damage to the base. I got enough cards on hand, so he doesn't want me to discard. So yeah, client now has already healed for 10 total. Silencer swung enough times. That's really good. Yeah, so now on the board we're all tapped out. So this is a great spot for me. I've got ways to sort of stall out and see what he does. He could ECL Poe here and try to kill the client, and then, Qi'ra can flip out and do her thing and take out some units. And then next turn, I've got the Raider to follow up. So at this point, the client's done a great job of controlling the game. And my opponent just passes. So he's trying to wait out the Qi'ra flip. And then he's trying to capitalize off that. But in this matchup, I think there are a lot of things where, with your opponents having these big turns, there's a lot of times where you just need to bite the bullet. You just have to get it out of the way. Because he could have ECL'd Poe there, and then I could have Qi'ra flip out and take him out. But what he does by passing is that he gives the client an extra turn to put a bounty out. Yeah. It also gives me more time to draw answers to whatever he's going to play. So yeah. So this is where I think he ECLs the wrecker. To also, so essentially it does the same job where it takes out the client. But yeah, him stalling a turn gave the client a chance to heal. Because I'm not getting any defenses on the ground. I'm just using the client to heal and then using some removal. So yeah, goes ahead, ECLs the wrecker, pops the client. And this is where we see Qi'ra. So every unit heals all damage, and then they take damage equal to half their health. So Qi'ra, who's a 0/8 on flip, becomes a 4/4 with her grit. And yeah, Qi'ra really likes to see those 2 and 3 power units on the ground, because she can deal half damage to them, and then when she kills them, that gives her more damage, which then gives her more grit. So she goes from a 4/4 to a 6/2, and I was able to draw 2 daring raids there to take care of Wrecker, and then we've got another client. So at this point, I feel very happy about where this game is. I've got some Pike Sentinels now to be able to hold the ground, and I've got a Ruthless Raider as well, who's going to be able to start pushing the base. I don't resource anything here. I've got a lot of 7 cost, 8 cost. I've got a Crate Dragon, but I know for this match, it's not going to matter. I'm just going to need some. I'm just going to need some units on the board, and with all the damage that's on the board, it's not really going to last that long. Yeah. So he's not updating his dice all the time. He does have a pad off to the side where he's keeping track of life, so I really appreciate that. Generally, I like recording more than doing the dice, but you have to have a physical representation out there, so that's pretty good. Yeah, there you go. Here comes the Wrecker. Here comes the Raider to do 2 damage to Wrecker and 2 damage to the base. That gets him up to 21. And then the client gets him up to 23, so now I have lethal any number of ways, and he is currently at 13, so he's at 12 damage shy. Yeah, so he can swing with Wrecker to do a whole bunch of damage. But yeah, that's game. So yeah, once again, the client showing his extreme, how important he is in that particular matchup. Being able, I think he healed for 15 on that game, and I ended at 13 damage. The 25 health base is definitely an issue going into those aggro games, but TTown, man, just being able to take out a unit, I think, is incredibly efficient, especially with the Qi'ra flip turn. So next up, we have a Tarkin Yellow. So pretty common deck that we've seen so far. Starting out to really taking off in set 2 thanks to the triple Dark Raid event and the Lurking TIE Phantom. A lot of space units being able to stack up experience pretty high. And so I've got some important decisions out of the gate. That's not a good hand. No start. It had the Make an Opening and the Sailing Fang, which I like for this matchup, but no first turn play. I have 12 first turn drops, I believe, in this deck. So yeah, really looking to get one of those. If I'm able to grab a Silencer, I can start protecting space early, and that feels really good. But yeah. Lurking Tide Phantom is a very, very good card. It's very difficult to deal with unless you have the right cards. Like on the Qi'ra flip, the Qi'ra actually doesn't damage the Lurking Tide Phantom. I can't use TTown on it. So pretty much the only answer that I have is put a big guy up there to go kill him. Or play Make an Opening when it immediately drops. So yeah, I've got some... So I do have a Make an Opening in this starting hand, which I really like. And I think I resource one of the Pike Sentinels. Because I'm not expecting a ton of ground. And he plays Incinerator Trooper. I play Pike Sentinel match. I really like that. Especially with Qi'ra being able to shield my Sentinel. Even if he buffs up that Incinerator Trooper, the Pike is still going to be able to take, you know, a turn or two before he's going to die. Which I am a big fan of. He's not going space early. I don't have my space protection yet. So I really want the battle to stay on the ground as much as possible. You know, keep Tarkin off the board as well if he comes out. Yeah, Tarkin is one of those leaders that Qi'ra really, really likes to see, because when he flips out, he also flips out on the same turn as Qi'ra. So when Tarkin flips out, Qi'ra flips out, does half damage to him. So since he's got 7 health, he will take 3 damage. And with that 4 remaining health, Qi'ra can just swing into him. That gives her more grit, and that removes his leader from the board. Qi'ra very effective into a lot of leaders with 7 or she trades with any leader that is 8 health or less and 4 more power. And if they have 3 or less power, she can just defeat them and then give herself more grit. So like that's the new Han, that's Sabine. I'm trying to think of other like Tarkin also has 2. Krennic has 2 power. You know, she can trade with Boba, with Vader. Although really, if your opponent lets Qi'ra trade with Vader, they've done something very wrong. You know, old Han, Qi'ra can trade with him as well. It's just super, super strong. She's a great leader. Plus, she has a great ability when she's, you know, not out as a unit, being able to damage your units. I run a lot of grit in this deck, so she powers up those units, plus being able to hand out shields is super impactful. So I go ahead and have the Scout Bike swing into the Incinerator Trooper for 1. I don't really feel like shielding the Scout Bike, but, you know, taking 3 damage gets him up to a 4-1 with that grit, so I'm really, really happy there. And I end up killing the Incinerator Trooper. I wasn't sure whether I wanted to start swinging to base there, but I was afraid that he was going to build the Incinerator Trooper large enough where it could swing into the Pike Sentinel, take out a shield, and then, you know, it would survive from that, and then he would just, you know, claim and then swing in and kill another unit. So I'd essentially have to trade 2 units for it. This way, I get it off the board. I still have my Pike Sentinel. I haven't lost any units for it. But I have given him time to essentially build up his space arena. So I'm sitting on Make an Opening. I know he's going to be wanting a TIE Phantom later on, so I'm definitely saving that. I think I have a Power of the Dark Side somewhere in there, or I draw it here soon. Yeah, so I'm just debating whether I launch the Make an Opening early. I also have a Force Choke in there. So Force Choke, not necessarily great for this matchup just because he runs a lot of vehicles, Triple Dark Raid, pulling a whole bunch of big vehicles, plus he just runs a ton of space. So I'm holding on to Force Choke primarily for if he's going to like drop a Vader in the end game. I don't know whether that's, you know, in the Tarkin game plan or whether that's in his deck, but after Qi'ra flips, I really don't have a big card to deal with Vader. Power of the Dark Side is generally one of those, you know, cards that I can use to take care of Vader, but if he's got a whole bunch of ties up in space, there's, you know, not much effectiveness to that. So I think there is when actually, I want to go back. I want to see that again. I want to see that resource. because I think this is the point where I make a really, really big mistake. So, like I said, Force Choke is I enjoy Force Choke. I have 3 of it in the deck. I think it's very important for a lot of matchups. No, I think that was a unit. All right. So I think there is another point in this game where I get a different type of removal. I think I get a Power of the Dark Side, and I resource that over the Force Choke. Just because, he's got a lot of units, I may want the Force Choke to take out a ground unit rather than just having to use a power on a tie. But for now, I still have the Force Choke. So yeah, we're just swinging a whole bunch to base right now. Yeah, so I'm just trying to race him on the ground at this point. He's got some ties up there, but I've got 3 boys on the ground. That scout bike swing for 4 is incredibly nice to have. Yeah, I've got that Hylabon as well, ready to throw down. I love having those grit units on the Qi'ra turn. So he's got a Piet there. This is primarily where I should just Force Choke him, but I don't. I think the reason I don't is because I want to, I want to have enough resources for make an opening, in case he tries to drop a Phantom here, because he has 3 open resources, which he does, and that is the quickest make an opening. Technically, I could wait until Tarkin comes out, because there's no way for him to buff that in the meantime. So yeah, out comes Tarkin. And so I think this is where I play the Hylabon, and then I grit the Hylabon on the Qi'ra flip instead of Force Choking Piet. Yep. So at this point, I'm thinking more about the damage race, that I'll be able to do more damage on the ground than he's going to be able to in space. Which, yeah, I think becomes an issue, because I definitely should have just killed the Piet right there. So yeah, Qi'ra flip. So that Pike Sentinel is actually going to go back to full. He loses his shield, but he's back to full health. So, yeah, 1 to each. And all I care about is that they have 1 damage. That creates a Tarkin Town target. So yeah, this is... I'm generally fine with this. I want more of his units off the board. So there you go. Qi'ra killing Tarkin, getting up to 6 damage. And Tarkin Town's going to take out the tie. So at this point, he has 2, 3. So he has 2 damage from Piet. Well, really, the Pike Sentinel is there. So he's got 3 damage showing from the tie that can go into my base. That's it. All right, so I was holding on to a crate just in case the game was going long. At that point, I resourced it. Now I have a Silencer, a Power of the Dark Side, and a Force Choke, I believe, if we can see my hand. Yep, so that's what it looks like. So yeah, I can swing for a lot of damage on the ground. I've got that, I've got Qi'ra up to 6 power. I've got my Scout Pike and my Hylabon, each swing for 3, and I got the Pike Sentinel holding down the fort on the ground. So he's going to go ahead and triple Dark Raid. So he is on 6 resources, which means that he can bring a vehicle that has it's 8 costs or less. And this is where he's going to find that Reinforcement Walker. So when I was playing the game, and like after the game, I was like, oh man, these Reinforcement Walkers, they absolutely killed me. But he ended up here actually drawing cards. He didn't heal. And I think, funny enough, I didn't ask him about the game afterward, but I think he drew more triple Dark Raids off this guy. Yeah, so he gets the ambush because I left Piet on the board. I mean, he's coming in ready, so it's not necessarily going to be a huge issue. It's not like, he just plays the Reinforcement Walker normally, and that's going to take a turn. Yeah, I remind my opponent that it also works on attack, and he's going to draw this as well. So he didn't actually heal off of this, just fed his hand. But yeah, so this is where I think I just go like, all right, we can start putting a whole bunch of damage to base. That Walker's going to go back to his hand. We can just keep moving. Yeah. So I could choke Piet here. That's pretty much the only play that I have. And then I can power, because like power is weird here, right? Like if I try to play power, he's just gonna. So I don't know what he would choose. I think he'd choose the Reinforcement Walker to die because it's bouncing back to his hand anyway. And if he has Triple Dark Raid, he can go look for more units anyway. So I sacrifice the Scout Bike to trade into Piet. I don't use Force Choke. Yeah, I don't know why I didn't Force Choke there. That seemed like such a waste. I'm just holding on to that Force Choke, and I'm never using it. So now I've got a Silencer in space. Like, yeah, I'm just sitting on it. I don't know why. And I know I don't play either of these cards here. Yeah, I just pass. Now that's very strange. I'm just sitting on my removal. So there you go. I get a First Light and a Palpatine there. Very, very good draws at this point, going into 7 resources. I didn't find any big health unit. So on the 6 resource turn, I'm primarily trying to play a big health unit. So that way when First Light flips out, I can do 4 damage to something without having to essentially kill it. The Raider is really, really, really good for that. Put him out. He's a 4/6. Smuggle out First Light. Does 4 damage to it. He swings for 8 in space. It's really fun. Lom Pike is also a good body. Swinging for 8 on the ground. And Lom Pike is just such an amazing closer. He uses No Good to Be Dead on Qi'ra. Yeah, so I get him up to 25, so I'm pretty happy here. So yeah, he just triple Dark Raids again. So yeah, I've got Palpatine to help clear the board if he is going to play some units. He's got a lot of cards in hand too. That Reinforcement Walker drawing him too is really good. Yeah. Yeah, so he's going to play a tie advanced. He's going to be able to buff that Outland tie. And he's going to be able to get a free swing for 3. Yep. Yep, smuggle out First Light. I'm going to sacrifice Silencer. So, looks like I'm now 1 damage shy from lethal through First Light. So, I am currently a few damage away. But also, he is within striking distance. I've only got 11 health left on my base. I'm worried about some real shenanigans here. So he Fleet Lieutenant, sorry, he Snow Trooper Lieutenant to swing for 5 there. So I'm now, yeah. So he was about ready to pack out. He was saying GG, and then I reminded him that Qi'ra was in fact exhausted via no good to me dead. So, in my mind, there's a lot of lines for me to win. There's a lot of lines for him to win. If he has a Fleet Lieutenant or something like that, sorry, Snow Trooper Lieutenant. If he has a Snow Trooper Lieutenant, he can just swing for base immediately. So I think I play defense here a little bit. So I have Palp clear out those units. So essentially, he has to play something. At this point, the only way that he can sort of win this game, because I have the 4 in space and then I have the 3 on the ground, is that he needs to play something that either heals him a bunch, or he needs to play a 6 attack unit that's ready. And he's going to do both of those in the same time. He's going to triple Dark Raid for the 3rd turn in a row. So he's going to Reinforcement Walker, which is going to be able to essentially swing for lethal. So yeah, the no good on Qi'ra, really impactful. Him being able to draw that Reinforcement Walker right at the end to swing for 6. Yeah, so like honestly for me, just that I don't know why I held on to that. Like that Force Choke stayed in my hand the entire game. There was not really anything for me to do with it. I don't know, I think I was waiting on like a Vader to come out, and like, oh, like he'll have Vader swing into whatever 2 or 3 power unit that I have, and then he'll be at 4 or 5 health. I can Force Choke that, and then I can push from there. Yeah, I think I just should have let that rip early on, and then the Power of the Dark, like that would have opened up the Power of the Dark Side to be a bit more powerful, with 1 less unit on the board, and then I also wouldn't have spent a unit swinging into Piet to kill him. I would have had an extra Scout Pike on the board, which would have helped in the damage race at the very end. So, yeah, I think that was just the big mistake that I had for that game, and that essentially just snowballed and affected all my other decision trees from there. So let's go ahead and go on to this 3rd round. It is against Bo1, so another popular deck that we see in set 2. Bo1, very good. And I've got an interesting hand to start. I've got 2 Daring Raids. I've got Palp. I've got a Hylabon. So I have a first turn drop. Hylabon's one of my favorite first turn drops. Being able to get it shielded right away with Qi'ra and get that grit going is excellent. Boba is very difficult. Well, in general, Boba's a very difficult matchup. But with this Qi'ra deck, I feel pretty confident going into it. Qi'ra's able to, flip, do half damage on Boa, and then I'm able to use, any amount of damage and, defeat Boba. Whether Qi'ra trades in or whether I have Force Choke or another, 4 power unit on the board. So he Bazines out of the gate. I'm expecting Palpatine or Power to go, but he's actually going to choose Force Choke here. Force Choke, also very good in this matchup. He's got a lot of 5 health units. Toro and Boba are both 5 health. So Force Choke is very effective against that. So, I wouldn't be surprised if that's what he's going for his next drop. So there you go. I have a Snoke and a First Light. Oh, looks like I had a make an opening in there as well. Oh, make an opening is what I drew off the Bo1 discard. So he's going to play a 7 Fleet Defender, and the so I'll go ahead and defeat Bo1, and now that I have a make an opening, I'm just going to be able to quickly take out the TIE Defender before that gets out of hand. Once again, I'm not looking at any space, so I have Snoke and a Palpatine in my hand, so I'm looking good once we can get there. I draw Fifth Brother. Excellent, excellent. I've got a bunch of 3-drops here. This curve that I have for Qi'ra is kind of fun. I have a whole bunch of 2 and 3 drops. So for the first few turns, I'm playing a 2-drop, I'm playing a 2-drop and shielding it, I'm playing a 3-drop and shielding it. Or I've got some removal cards in there. And then once I get to 6 resources, I'm playing the Raiders, I'm playing the First Lights, I'm playing the Palpatine Snokes. So he has Fifth Row, go ahead, ambush in. I tell him to draw a card. I'm going to go ahead and play Fifth Row. And I'm just going to use Tarkin Town out of the gate. So I generally try to use Tarkin Town on the Qi'ra flip. But there are some times where it's just like those units are too important to leave around. K2, Forlom, or some of those. Especially if he's got Zuckuss. I don't know what he's got in his hand. So I just want to be able to get that Forlom off the board as quickly as possible. So yeah, this is exactly where I want to be. He's got no units to show for on the board on the Boba turn, which is going to make Power of the Dark Side very powerful here. So he's going to bounce Fifth Row, and then he's going to make me discard a card. So the worst card for him to grab is Power of the Dark Side. But he is going to grab my Palpatine. So yeah, that's a little bit annoying just because of how good he is. Once it gets to that point of the game, Palpatine is able to shoot down the fire spray. He's able to shoot down a lot of big units. And Power of the Dark Side is going to come out immediately after the Boba flip, take care of him. And now I've survived the Boba turn. I can sort of have Qi'ra wait out now and see when she needs to flip out. So I resource make an opening. At this point, I think I've got the Deathwatch Loyalist and Fifth Bro in hand, 2 amazing units to have on the Qi'ra flip because they both get additional damage, which then powers up their grit. So I think at this point I'm like, all right, I survived the Boba turn. No one's taken any damage. I'm going to be able to put out a lot more than he can at this point. So I believe that's a Syndicate Lackey. No, that can't be. That had to have been. No, that is another Forlom. Yeah. So yeah, 2 damage on the Fifth Bro, 1 damage onto the Deathwatch Loyalist, 4 damage on the Qi'ra, and Kira's going to go ahead and just take out. That is Bosk, actually. That's Bosk. So yeah, I go ahead, resource the Hylavon. Hylavon's a great unit, but once it gets to a certain point in the game, you just don't want to give your opponent that card advantage. So you just got to resource that and just be like, all right, hey, we got some better units that we can pull out. So yeah, Qi'ra is back in the leader zone, but I've got Fifth Bro and I've got the Deathwatch Loyalist out there. They're going to be able to swing for a lot this turn. Fifth Bro is like, oh man, like he's such an important point to the deck. I think he really elevates a lot of cards. Him being able to do damage to himself and another unit helps your grit units. So those Scoutbike Pursuers, those Deathwatch Loyalists, and Qi'ra herself, he's able to do damage to himself to power himself up, and then also do damage to them. So he's going to play Cunning again. Going to go ahead and exhaust. He's going to make me discard a card. So I'm sitting on the Silencer. I am begging for the Silencer to be discarded. All I want to do is just be able to play it from discard, and he's going to snipe the Snoke. So he go ahead and pings Snoke. I just play the Silencer because I'm sad. Just taking a look at that. Bam. I'm really liking my board presence here. So he's going to go ahead, pay 3 for the Phantom. So yeah. I draw 2 clients here. Not what I want to see. I go ahead, resource 1. Yeah. See, I love clients in the main board just because of, in a lot of matchups, they're very important. And I think for even just them being a 2/5 shielded for 3, I really like them. The client is just, you know, very good in that aspect where he's just a body that, like, I'll drop him and I know he's not going to get, like, immediately, you know, destroyed by a, like a Vader ambush or something like. So there you go. 5th Bro is going to swing 5 to base, and he's also going to give the Death Watch Loyalist a damage. And the Death Watch Loyalist is going to be frozen in Carbonite. So all that work for nothing. However, I do think I have the fun answer to that, which is, now that I've got a useless unit, I don't have a disabling thing to get rid of it. We are simply going to... We're gonna bring out First Light, and we're gonna go ahead and do 4 damage to that frozen Death Watch Loyalist. And now First Light is doing a lot of work here, and I believe that was the Crate Dragon that I just resourced. I remember having a rough resource. What? Yep, that was the Crate Dragon. So Cunning, Snipe, Snoke, and Palp out of my hand, and now the Crate Dragon has gone into as a resource. You know, it's unfortunate, you know, but I don't think of it as like, you know, ugh, like that, like that ruins the game. It's more of a, you know, think about that card that you're smuggling in as being the bottom card of your deck, right? Like, you knew that you were never going to be able to access it anyway. The same, like, the odds are the same that the card that you want is going to be on the top of the deck or the bottom of the deck. So when you smuggle it in, it's like, you know, that card had the same odds of being the next card as, you know, it had the same odds of being the card that you smuggle as being the next card that you would draw as to the very last card in the deck. So, like, yeah, it's RNG, but it's fine. So he's going to Cunning again. He's going to make me discard a card, exhaust 2 units. He's going to discard a client. I'm A-okay with that. I got no issues. So I'm going to go ahead and play a Pike Sentinel. So now that 5th Bro has Grit. So if he were to attack, he would get his 2 power, his 3 from Grit being provided by First Light, and then the 3 raid that he gets provided by his own ability. So that 5th Bro actually swings for 8. So that 8 swinging 5th Bro is down there. Although now he's got Sentinel on that Gamorrean Guard, so unfortunately not going to be able to do much there. Yeah, unfortunately, I did not realize that this camera setup was going to block the health total. Although the glare on the phone actually doesn't, the glare on the phone actually covers it up. I can see my life total, and then it's 0. But yeah, I have no idea how much health that he's at right now. I haven't swung for, I think I've swung for 5 with 5th Bro once. I think that's it. I think he's just exhausted a bunch of my cards. So that's swinging for 6 there on that First Light. I really like having that 6 power. Realistically, I probably should swing with the Silencer first. I was worried about the exhaust. But having a 6 power unit also helps protect me from getting smacked by a fire spray. So probably shouldn't have swung with that. But I think at this point, since I've taken no damage, I really want to just put the pressure and put a bunch of damage. So he freezes in Carbonite my 5th brother, the big juicy one. I go ahead and just play a new 5th brother to replace him. So he plays a TIE Phantom. So I'm going to pay 3 and smuggle out a Covert Strength. Ah, I remember where this plan is going. So I'm trying to give an experience over to the... Yep. So I'm trying to put an experience up to the Silencer that makes him a 4/3. I now want to Qi'ra shield him and have him swing for 6 as well. That's where this plan was going. And of course he just no-goods it. So I really, really wanted the Silencer to swing for a lot. But unfortunately, that is not going to happen. Boba has a lot of tools, especially late in this end game where he's not going to be able to drop units that are large as the ones that I've got, but he is going to be able to slow me down and then have his still decent sized units do a lot of damage to base. As you see, swinging for 4 with the Gamma Marine Guards, 3 with Boba. I'm now feeling the heat. So I'm sitting on 8 resources. We're going to keep them. We've got Force Choke, we've got Raider, so we've got ways to deal a whole bunch of damage. So this is where I really, really want Snoke, right? Like, I'd kill the Phantom immediately, I would defeat the Gamma Marine Guard, and I would essentially make it impossible for him to play any units without having to take care of Snoke first. So that Snoke getting sniped would have, it drastically changed the game. So, So yeah, he does the Relentless Pursuit Capture. I forget about the shield, so I just like snap, choke it. Yeah, so I'll choke the Gamma Marine Guards. So realistically here, I have the Raider in my hand. I need to be more patient. I just need to be more patient and remember that. So I think I should play the... yeah, he plays Out of Aspect, Fell the Dragon. Which is crazy. I would have not expected that in a Boba Yellow. But yeah, so realistically here, I think I play the Raider, and I pop Boba's shield, and then I force choke him after the shield. Although I think primarily what my original thought was, I just need to stop whatever damage is coming in. So that Gamma Marine Guard swinging for 4 would have been extremely... yeah, so was able to swing for 4 there before going to the next turn. So yeah, a Crate Dragon, a Snoke, a Palp would be able to help out this board, but we're just fighting with what we got. We've got a lot of damage on him. That Silencer is back and ready. And at this point... Yep, so we're going to kill the Phantom, so that's going to get that Silencer up to 6. No, so First Light is gone. First Light got felled, so no... extra grit there, but we do have just a 4-power Silencer. So he's going to give Boba Fett's armor over to that Disintegrator on the ground. So now that Boba Fett is swinging for a lot. So I'm going to go ahead and play another First Light out of my resources. Such a great card. Funny enough, I cut it down to 2 in my deck, just because I didn't feel like having 3. I felt like when I needed 3, I was just drawing it when I didn't need to, and 2 is generally enough to get me through the game. So yeah, here we go. We have the Raider swinging for 8 into base. Just gonna go ahead, play the... so yeah, so he is at 24 at this point, and I'm at, I believe, 19. So he's got a 5-power Boba Fett. So theoretically, he could have claimed and tried to hope for a for a surprise strike or a first strike to swing, instead of that. But yeah. So now going on into the final. So I felt really good about that. That was a very, very fun game. And like, yeah, just back and forth. A lot of good lines for me. I think I played pretty well that game. Especially navigating through those early turns and being able to get Boba Fett out with the power of the dark side. So this is another up and coming deck in this meta. This is the New Han Blue. Lots of Jedi, lots of bombs, being able to stay above curve. This is a deck I generally do about 50-50 into. It really depends on how I navigate those early Qi'ra turns. Once I get to that end game, he's going to drop Lukes, he's going to drop Chewies, he's going to drop Redemptions. I simply don't have the power to fight against that unless I have my Krayt Dragon out. So I have to set up a good board state. I need to have probably 2 units left over after the Qi'ra turn to be able to not have them get all removed by Luke. So he's going to go ahead and play Yoda to my bike. So here I go. I think I resource Snoke because I know, he's playing a lot of big units. Snoke is not really going to do anything to that. Snoke's a bad matchup. When I have a sideboard, so these are all best of ones. When I have a sideboard, I have an extra Krayt and an extra Palp that I generally pull the Snokes out for. Just because, Snoke is very, very powerful into a lot of those mid-range and those, aggro type decks. But against a deck like Han, who's just going to be dropping bomb, 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 I'd rather have units with wind plate effects. So like Palpatine being able to sort of do a whole bunch of damage. The Krayt doesn't have a wind plate effect, but it's the when played, you're screwed. So he plays out K2. I shield up my Scout Pike. That's a Pike Sentinel out there as well. And that's a lot of units. That's a lot of units on the board. I'm now very worried about a Force Throw or a Carabast to be able to take out that Pike Sentinel. So I'm going to have my Scout Pike swing into the Yoda, and I'll use Tarkin Town to defeat K2. So now he's got no cards on his board. He's going to make me discard. I'll discard a 5th brother. So there is my Krayt Dragon. Once again, I've got another Snoke in my hand. So that's just resource it. Once it gets to that point in the game, he's going to have way better cards than I do. Snoke is not going to be what pushes me through. So I've got 3 cards in my hand. And he's going to pillage. So I have the silencer. So that at least makes up for a little bit. And then, man, Krayt is what pushes me through that endgame. But I'm worried that, I'm going to need that Force Choke sooner rather than later. And yeah, the whole point of, I can play Choke soon. But if he pillages me any time between now and that 9 resource turn, Dragon does nothing. So yeah, since Kylo was discarded from my hand this turn, I simply just as an action play him from my discard. So pillage, pushing cards out of my hand, but I'm still keeping up board state and I'm doing a lot of damage. So I'm really happy about this. This is where I want to be against this this Han. I've got 3 units. I'm swinging for 8 damage on the board. Now we're going into the Qi'ra turn. So if he tries to pull out a whole bunch of units, Kira's going to be able to flip. I've already used Tarkin Town, unfortunately, so I can't flip out and use Tarkin Town to defeat a unit. I've got to defeat his units with what I've got on my board and what's in my hand. So I'm sitting on a Death Trooper and a Force Choke. So 2 ways to put out damage. Death Trooper, I think, is a great card in Qi'ra. After, on that Qi'ra flip, doing half damage to everything, then being able to, do 2 damage to a friendly unit, 2 damage to an enemy unit. You could finish off an enemy unit. You could actually boost up your own friendly unit who has grit. Just gonna go ahead, pay 4 for K2. I'm just gonna go ahead and start swinging with the Pike Sentinel. So with 1 resource, his Han could do a lot of things. He could bring out a 2-cost unit, or he could just force throw and have me discard a card. And this is where I'm going to go through all my lines here with what he could have versus what I could have, right? So I know I've got a Death Trooper and a Force Choke. Qi'ra has flipped. I've done half damage to all of his units. I know I can completely wipe his board. Death Trooper is going to be the easiest way to just take care of K2. I do 2 damage to a friendly unit. I do 2 damage to K2. Quick and simple. However, if I play that Death Trooper first, he's going to probably have me discard a card, which is going to get rid of my Force Choke. Now, if he gets rid of my Force Choke, I could just have Qi'ra swing in and kill Han. That's not an issue. So, yeah. So Qi'ra, so yeah, he's just passing here. I think he's trying to get in my head, or he's just waiting on me to do stuff, and he doesn't want to give me the information of, yes, I don't have anything. So I have to think about this. I have to play the Force Choke first, and I have to play it on, so I have to Force Choke Han and Death Trooper on K2 in that order if I want to keep all my cards. And I also have Qi'ra, who is a gridded unit out there, so I can buff her up. I think I just have Qi'ra swing to base, which I think is a mistake. Or I should at least start playing my removal cards first before I have Qi'ra swing. And I think I'm going to make another small mistake here coming up. So yeah, he just claims. So I Force Choke and kill Han. And then I'm going to use Death Trooper, and I believe I do the 2 damage to Qi'ra, which is generally what I want to do. Qi'ra now swings for 6. That being said, I think that that's a mistake. I think I should just have the Death Trooper keep it on himself, because we're going into 6 resources. I know Luke is coming out. I've now given him the best target, which is, unfortunately, Qi'ra. So I could have had a 4-power Qi'ra and a 3-power Death Trooper. Instead, I have a 6-power Qi'ra and a 3-power Death Trooper. However, the 6-power Qi'ra can now be defeated by Luke, meanwhile the 4-power Qi'ra cannot. So I definitely should have just kept it on the Death Trooper and not really worry about it, because now I drop a 4-power unit instead of dropping a 3-power unit. Although there are some times where I want Qi'ra to quickly trade out, do her big damage, and then come back to the leader zone, so that way she can use her ability. But I think in this matchup, that's not what I want. I think I just want to push damage. And me putting the 2 damage on Qi'ra, in my mind, was a mistake, because that's just an easy Luke target that gets her down to 2 health. That kills her. If she was at 4, if she was a 4/4, Luke couldn't kill her. He'd have to kill a smaller unit. And because we top deck a Force Choke against Luke, seems pretty good. So yeah, this is exactly where we want to be. We've got 3 units swinging for 3 on the board. Could have a 4, a 3, and a 3. So there you go. I'm sitting on 7. I'm sitting on 6 resources at the time. I believe I stay at 6. I don't know why. Am I just considering that he's trying to force throw here? Because I think I saw a Long Pike. Oh, that's right. I have a Long Pike down. That's the issue. I already have a Long Pike in my resources, so I'm not trying to... yeah. I want to have the option of, if he force throws me, I have a Long Pike to get rid of that I'm not, too worried about. If I have that 1 card, I just leave. It's just Power of the Dark Side, and Power of the Dark Side is very important. Because he's dropping those big units. Power of the Dark Side can just quickly take care of them if I don't have the manpower on the ground to deal with it. So yeah, he's at, I think, 21. So he brings out Mace, and Mace is going to go ahead and smack and defeat the Death Trooper. Yeah, very important to defeat the Death Trooper. They both have 3 powers, but so the Death Trooper and the Scout Bike both have 3 power, but the Death Trooper has 3 health remaining, which means I can Qi'ra shield it. So he correctly defeats the Death Trooper. And he is going to force throw, so that is going to make me get rid of a Lom Pike here. So funny enough, this is exactly why I kept it on 6 resources. So Lom Pike, going to go ahead and defeat the Silencer. So yeah, if I had a Raider, that would have been really, really good. But what I do is just play Lom Pike. Put more units on the board, put more pressure on the board. Because I believe he is at 26 or 27 right now. And if you were to try to kill the Scout Bike, I just claim, and then the Lom Pike can swing for lethal. 25? Oh. He's up there. It's pretty close. But Lom Pike being able to shield himself, or just do a whole bunch of shield, and I'm just going to have that spare resource. I'm going to go ahead and shield Lom Pike. So this is actually very, very risky. Lom Pike at 6 health is very important because that gets outside of Chewbacca range. Very, very important. But I, for some reason, just decided to shield him. Yeah, like, Qi'ra in this matchup is very weird, because I have to feel like, if I shield, I have protection from your large units, I have protection from force throw. If I shield, and I bring it below a certain health threshold, I'm available to get killed by Chewie, I'm available to get killed by Luke, I'm available to get killed by Vigilance, or make an opening. So it's very weird. Trying to, like, figure out and, you know, see what my opponent has, and then how I can shield and react to that. He's debating how much damage he needs to pull out here. I think the correct answer is all of it. I think he's either at 20, he may be at 29 right now, actually, which is why. Yeah, so he goes from 29 to 21. And this is where Lom Pike is going to show how good he is. So he's going to do 4 damage to base, and he's going to shield the Scout Bike and shield Mace. And like I tell him he puts that Mace was shielded, but I think he was just considering whether it was actually going to matter or not. So yeah, because I'm able to shield the Scout Bike can now swing without getting killed by Mace. So he just goes ahead and plays an R2 for free. Just, you know, might as well, at the end of the game, try to find those cards. She's got no resources remaining. And I think I did the math where I've got him down to 26. Yeah, alright, and that's it. That's game. So yeah, very, very intense game. I had a great control of the opening. And yeah, once we were able to manage and get through that Qi'ra turn, we felt really, really confident going into that. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Thank you all for watching, and I might have some more soon. Bye.